Welcome back to the Games Revealed podcast. I am James and also the Brink, and with me is...
the corgi holder, Susie.
And Loki. And he doesn't like being held like this, unless it's comfortable. And so, gotta get some lovin's. Yeah, if you have a membership or anything else, all the funds go to making sure Loki stays well fed. And you guys are being very generous, because he's... Okay, no, it's the kids that are very generous with him. So... today's topic is going to be
shedding season.
It's going to be shedding season for games and stuff. We're going to be twisting things around into hardware. We've been doing more games the last little bit. And with this podcast, I could see it going down more of the games route in the future. But for now, we were going to do some hardware because we play a lot of handheld devices lately. And
well, you do. I play
exclusively
one.
Well, that's true. Well, you exclusively play on your Steam Deck right now.
Yes.
And so with how many hours?
Minus one game. I don't play Dead Space
That's
on my
true.
handheld. I play it on the computer.
I feel like there's just some games that work better on the main PC.
Yeah, it's one I don't know if I'd enjoy on the Steam Deck as much as playing it on the PC.
My thing with a lot of games, play it through. If it's an intensive game that requires like high graphic fidelity for the best enjoyment, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I think like Persona 5, one that I talk about all the time, is one that is fine to play on the Steam Deck. In fact, I like it more than on the main PC for some reason. But like Dead Space, almost anything else I play, I'd much prefer on the PC. Right. But once you beat it once, then it's a little bit nicer or more nice to play it on maybe the Steam Deck, where you can just pick it up, put it down.
Right.
Where that originally you just want to get through as much as possible and get really good scares from darkness, big screen, everything else. And so with that, we're going to talk about the perfect handheld. But I think before we get into the perfect handheld, we need to at least identify one of our favorite potentially features on the Steam Deck, or at least what you find is your favorite feature, because then we can copy and paste that over. So,
right,
what is your favorite feature on the Steam Deck?
Oh, okay. It probably number one is suspend play.
Yep, it's mine.
I know. Close second is the fact that it's so easy to connect to your Steam library. I mean, it is Valve's device, obviously, so they made it incredibly easy to connect to their product. But that is really nice. It revolves around your Steam library. It revolves around the Steam store. So that's really nice. But that suspend play is just chef's kiss.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that is always, it's been my favorite feature on the Steam Deck for a long time. There's so many other things because I'm more technical. The console-like nature, yes, definitely does help with it. I do feel like the ROG Ally, just having that is really brought into like light that I can deal with a suboptimal interface, because their armory is actually pretty good. I shouldn't say it's suboptimal, but it's not like as nice as the Steam OS game mode. So I can deal with what the armory does. It allows you to play games really easily and all that. But Windows doesn't do a very good job of suspend. It does better than it used to. Mm-hmm. And I know some people are going to say, well, no, it works great for me. It works better than it used to, but It does not work as good as Steam Deck. I will have to say, when I put the Steam Deck down, playing Persona 5 and bring it back up, it does a great job. Doesn't consume a lot of power. That being said, with Windows and ROG Ally, it's getting better. I've recently done that and didn't drain much battery, albeit it's a little finicky. It's not as predictable on Windows. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, I don't know. I wanted different opinions on this, but I think we're gonna side with the same one. Yeah. That just ease of use, being able to pick it up, put it down.
Doesn't the Switch have suspend play?
Yes. Windows does too. Like technically, it's just not the same thing. No. It's just essentially.
I feel like the Switch did it well.
Switch does it great.
It does it great, but yeah, I don't know if I've seen another device outside of Switch and Steam Deck that do it as well, where it's just put it to sleep. I don't feel like my drains the battery at all.
Yeah.
Turn it back on. It's right back where I left. Everything's fine. You know.
Yeah. Windows is getting better, I will have to say. As I recently used it with Starfield, it's getting better.
Yeah.
I don't suspend that one very often because I will play it downstairs on my main PC right here. So I don't really suspend on there, but when I do, it's not too bad. Like when I'm in between cooking and all that, I won't have it up. So I think we're in consensus on this. Suspend play. Favorite feature on the Steam Deck. I think the Steam Deck has other features that are really nice. Ease of use, and price. Probably price is a huge one to call out. But people aren't going to like this. And that's why I think it needs a refresh. I know, and the thing is, it doesn't need, I think it needs one. It doesn't really need one. I think it's going to be fine for the next few years. But I think if they want to stay competitive with other things like ROG Ally, they need a refresh.
That's the interesting thing to me about the Steam Deck is I feel like it did not take very long before people were instantaneously talking about Steam Deck 2.
Because it's fun.
Oh,
and it's
I know
the community.
It totally is.
Yeah.
But I find it so interesting, and especially since this has been the year of handhelds.
Yeah.
I think it's pushed that conversation far more up front than maybe it would have if there wasn't as much competition. But it's just an interesting dynamic that it's like all of a sudden we got to talk about the Steam Deck too.
Yeah, well, it's because we love just new things,
Oh,
especially.
yeah. But I don't feel like I hear that conversation when the new PlayStation comes out as much.
That's true. Like after a year, you don't hear about, what about the PlayStation 6? I mean, I still would talk about it a little bit.
You talk about it, but it's not as
it's not as prevalent.
Yeah,
and that's because the Steam Deck, people don't like to hear this, is underpowered compared to a lot of other devices out there right now.
Right.
And I will say, even when my ROG Ally is in silent mode, it does fairly decent. It's almost more comparable to the Steam Deck's performance. And yes, the battery still has some issues on the ROG Ally. That's a completely different subject, probably. I know I'm being very apprehensive of solidifying that because the battery, performance affects battery a lot.
Right.
We're going to be talking about the Steam Deck 2. No, we're not talking about the Steam Deck 2. We're just a perfect handheld. What makes a perfect handheld for you?
Oh, really, just full honestly, this isn't exactly my area of expertise. So, I do need a lot for it to be really good. But again, the suspend play, I feel like that has to be a must.
Yep. You could even list off some stuff that you don't like about the Steam Deck, and I could even help you out.
There you go. Same. Again, I've talked about this before. It would be so nice to have interchangeable grip controllers.
Oh, yeah.
So that way you can customize it to your hand fit. That would be nice.
So the Legion, maybe you should have mentioned this in the beginning, the Legion Go, which is removable controllers, but I don't know if they're going to sell anything that's smaller.
Yeah.
There's other things with that, but I would definitely, I don't like the way it looks per se.
No, it's not my favorite.
But everything else about it seems pretty close, bar battery, to be in my perfect handheld. But we'll get to mine soon. But for you, the grips. The
grips would be great. I don't run into too many problems performance-wise because in general I use my Steam Deck for more indie titles, and normally those don't require too much finessing when it comes to stats and performance settings and stuff like
so
that.
it's not about the size of the deck. It's just how you can grip it and use it.
Exactly.
Wow, a lot of real life comparison stuff here.
Oh my. No, but it would be nice. I know it is a problem for a lot of people. It would be nice to see better just automatic performance settings, like it's able to handle performance settings, like
maybe
a lot.
Software related a little bit more.
That's what it is. So you know, because I swear every game that comes out almost that's too big or too graphically intense, everybody's like, how do I get it to work? How do I get it to work? What's the formula? And then that formula doesn't work, but this formula works for that person, and it's different for this person, and
it gets me back into wanting to write a feature that I've been wanting to make for the Revealed project for a while, and maybe one day I will. It's going to require a lot of very specific type of codings and comparison algorithms, but I really do think we could get there with these handhelds. With, let's say, because like what you mentioned, and I want to go deeper into this topic a little bit and how it could be. I'm going off the beaten path. Sorry.
Off the beaten path?
I know. We'll continue down on what makes a perfect handheld for you, and then we'll get to mine. But I do think this is a great point, and where the Steam Deck tends to fail sometimes is getting recommended settings for their games, so you don't have to go in and adjust things. There's a lot of different resources online for a lot of different games. There's a lot of YouTube channels that specialize just in the perfect settings. I don't like stuff like that. That's why I've done it a few times, but I don't like it because really as a community or as Valve or whatever, they could make profiles, compare profiles, and what frames per second they were getting on average through the whole playthrough. There's a lot of different ways. Yes, it would require some telemetry data. That some people might not like the idea of that, but if you want really good optimizations of games and an automated and optimized play session, this is the way to go, in my opinion. And yes, I've thought about this a lot because I've started designing a feature for the Revealed project, which, if you don't know what the Revealed project is, it's essentially, it was originally for the Steam Deck, but I'm trying to make it so that it works on Windows, SteamOS, and whatnot. Was to better launch Netflix, all these other apps on your device. Then I also added scripts to install scripts for the Steam Deck, and then I have some other things that will be added as the project goes on. Yeah, and one of them is profiles. So depending on your hardware and your preferences, it would adjust game settings for that. And the hard part about this and why you have to make it automated is that with each version change, it could change it. That being said, I still think it's very doable to at least have some, hey, this version, these settings work great on this. We could just get it kind of set up. I know I'm going to go really deep into this. I'm going to dig back out soon. But with the current generation, there's like 3 different chips that are going on right now. You've got the Steam Deck Godot. It's not Godot. That's the game engine. Van Gogh chipset, which is pretty old actually. So you could optimize according, because let's say if Steam or Valve comes out with a Deckard and it has the same chipset, it could put more power into it, more cores or whatever. But this chipset still is like okay enough to where they could base it off the chipset.
Right.
More RAM, all that could help with settings, but you could still base a lot of these settings off of the chipset and just wing it from there, and at least have people have it work off, have at least semi-optimized them as opposed to just lowest setting or whatever. And sometimes games do okay at guessing this stuff. But with the Z1 Extreme and the 7840, I believe is what they are, those AMD processors are so similar and all the devices, like the ROG Ally, all these other devices coming out, a lot of them have very similar performance, except for some firmware issues that that have occurred, of course, but enough to where you could be like, okay, this is a chipset. We'll just target it for the chipset. I think that'd be safe. Sorry. So to get like, I know this, I'm adding padding to the podcast to make sure there's plenty of good stuff, but
there you go.
or to bore people.
It's like a second helping of mashed potatoes.
That sounds good, actually.
Right?
Don't talk about food. It's about dinner time for us. So,
okay, look at that. It's not 10 o'clock at night.
oh, look at that. We're done. It's 15 minutes. We're done. So you could definitely fix this part, and I would add this as a preference for mine. That being said, it would make the perfect, but it would be one that would be at lower end of my list because I can optimize one game, so I'm not too worried about. It's just annoying,
right?
And it's annoying that there's a lot of people playing games unoptimized or don't realize that a game might actually play. They just need to reduce the settings or tweak it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else would make a perfect game for you or handheld?
Handheld.
Automatic switch games. No.
To be honest, I mean, that's it. Like, again, I love like with the Steam Deck, there's ease of accessing my library. I can easily buy games on my device. It's good, you know?
Yeah.
For me personally, like, I don't necessarily need like the other side of the deck in terms of like the desktop mode and stuff like that. I know for some people that's their shiz and whatever, but
well, we do plan on building you a desktop soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think I personally, if I didn't have to do game development and everything else, I would actually like a handheld that can then dock into an eGPU that then would have like much better performance.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of slimming it down to one device like that.
Oh, and that is really cool.
But you don't ever use your deck for game mode or desktop mode.
Desktop, no.
Okay. So you definitely don't need that.
No.
So far, like optimized games, suspend, of course, and better grips for your hand size, which is all stuff that's pretty typical. Like, how's the screen?
Yeah,
is the screen big enough for you? Is the screen resolution big enough?
That's a hard one. See, I'm looking at one right here. I mean, the screen's fine. It would be nice to have it because what is it right now?
It's a 7
inch. I mean, 8 inches would be nice.
Go. But the Legion Go is going to be a little big, so we'll see. I'll eventually get one when I and we'll talk about it. But
yeah, but again, like, how much is that going to play into the weight and everything else? Just to have like a bigger screen. But I do agree, like it is. It's a little small, especially depending on. Again, I play mostly indie games, so I don't like need the biggest screen for those.
I feel like any game I play, I want a bigger screen on.
But yeah.
Like, one of them is Hades. I've almost mentioned it as being like perfect for the deck. I will retract that statement slightly. I think, honestly,
because Hades is a dungeon crawler, correct?
Yeah, it's a dungeon crawler. It's roguelike, and it really is a really good game, and it works great on the deck. But the screen is fairly small, and that game, your character is fairly small too. So sometimes it's hard to keep track as you. Sorry, my nose is a little itchy. As you get moving around,
need a drinking game. Anytime either of us scratches our nose, it's like drink.
I need beard wax, so I can.
I just need my nose to stop itching.
It pops up and then it tickles my nose. So you get moving. You get moving around the screen, and you lose track of your character a little too quickly. I think a little bit bigger screen would help me. At least I've played it on bigger screens, and it's helped. That's my opinion.
No, I could see that because I've been playing Sea of Stars lately, and there are moments where you're pretty like
far away
from your
character,
and it's harder to kind of navigate just because of how it's a small screen and it's ratioed to that. So
yeah,
so I get that
100%. Yeah, 100%, 110%. I might be original.
200%.
So, yeah, you also have need for glasses and some other eye stuff. And so that's
I have
another
magnifying glasses.
Yeah,
So.
maybe that actually is why you don't need a bigger screen. And I do. I don't need glasses, but it's one of those things where I've just gotten used to having a big screen. And so having just a little, like in the sense of big TVs, big monitors, stuff like that.
Okay.
I just want a little bit more. I don't need a 10-inch. I do think the 10-inch size is too big.
That's pretty big, yeah.
Like 8 to 9, depending on how bezel-less it is and everything. I think the Legion Go is big.
Mm-hmm.
But with the way I do things, with the way I travel, with the way I store everything, I don't think it's going to be horrible compared to the Steam Deck for me. I don't think it's going to be a huge difference. I think I'll be able to stick it in my bag or my backpack or whatever it is and not notice a huge difference.
Right.
Where I will notice a difference is the battery. Because that battery, I don't know how long it's going to last, but they've got a powerful processor in there that's very power hungry. They've got a huge screen, and it's about the same battery, maybe a little bigger than the Steam Deck, from my understanding. Mm-hmm. Also, if you didn't know, the Legion Go is up for pre-order, so you can go pre-order it now. I'll be pre-ordering it myself soon. I just got to wait for, a little bit longer, just a week or two before I can. But I definitely, like, if you're looking for something that's not the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck, I think Legion Go is great. Okay, so back on track. I just want to make sure that people knew that.
There you go.
I needed to make a video and I didn't, so this is going to be another announcement. So, are you done with your perfect handheld?
I'm done.
My perfect handheld is going to be about 300 different items. No, first and foremost, the Steam Deck is a great start. I will use that as a good, like, little starting base, or the Legion Go. Like, meld those two together, and you're probably going to be getting pretty close.
Right.
I don't need the best battery life in the world.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to sacrifice, and this would probably be a good way to do it, maybe we'll do this towards the end of the podcast. We'll sacrifice. What would we sacrifice? But to get the other options that you wanted, I would sacrifice battery life to get some of these other options. For my perfect handheld, I want 2 USB-C ports, different buses. The reason I say that is that if I want to use this as a main workhorse, I've already tried it with the Steam Deck. I plugged too much stuff in. I have a camera. I tried streaming, and I could, but I'd have to unplug a lot of stuff. I didn't like that. I like being able to because I have it set up to where I can take a cord or two out, plug it into my MacBook, my Steam Deck, whatever, if I wanted to, like, utilize my whole studio here. The Steam Deck doesn't handle that well.
Right.
If you want to power 2 4K monitors, the bus isn't good enough on the USB-C. It's not large enough to where I would need 2 USB-C buses in the sense of, and what that means is so it could handle more throughput. It could handle more bandwidth. That's what I'm saying. It's like you could think of my 2 4K monitors and whatever else I'm hooking up to it, because you could get away with maybe the 2 4K monitors, but adding other stuff to it gets a little bit hairy. You could think of it as 2 big size semis that take up the whole road, and there's only one tunnel. Only one can go through at a time. If you have 2 tunnels, you can have 2 go at a time. Yes, you wouldn't be able to have 3, but that's kind of what it's like. Then on top of that, eGPUs, you could do some other tricks, other stuff like that. Oculink is one that I'd also love to see on there, which would be for, you can use it for VR. I don't know if it's actually used for VR as much as eGPUs. A little bit more bandwidth on just one port is nice. If you could double it down into 2 ports with 2 different buses, I'd be down for that. Once again, I don't know the viability for that. I'm not a hardware designer. This is just what I would like. Right. And I know you're like, I don't need ports. I don't plug this thing in. My perfect one is that I would like
different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. I mean, if I could do my game develop, if I could do everything off of like the ROG Ally, I'd love that because it's such a simple device. I could just plug it in and do everything. I wouldn't need multiple things, even though I do like having my desktop here and it's pretty shiny colors going off all the time. As far as the handheld, though, those ports would be so lovely. The screen size, about an 8 to 9 inch, like I said, with the bezel. Like if it's 9 inch as bezel-less as you can get, awesome. Hobgoblins above us are destroying things. And then this is what we get for recording during the day.
I know.
So Oh no, he's got a knife out. The other one's in trouble. Do we need to do a pause?
We might.
He's probably come down. So that's hardware wise.
Mm-hmm.
I do think like the Steam Deck, the way it is, I'm fine with it. The trackpads, yeah, I could lose them, but my preference is to keep it. I like the Steam Deck. I just want them to add bezel-less screen of 8.58, whatever. I'd be fine with that. 1200p screen. I think people don't always forget that you can do FSR 2 and 3 is coming out. So if you do have a higher refresh rate screen, some games like Minecraft, I've been playing on the ROG Ally on silent mode, still can get up to like 60 or no, I was getting up to like 100 frames per second on that thing. So it was looking smooth on the Ally. I'm playing with my son. And I love playing games with him, and might as well have a treat of the eyes while playing it. I know it's not the most beautiful looking game, but when things run really smoothly, it is nice. So I definitely would like to see the melding of stuff not being in my eyes. Melding, if you're watching this, you'll see. If you're not, someone's on my eye. The melding of the Ally Legion Steam Deck, I think would be awesome. Obviously, battery is a big issue, but it's the one thing I could potentially leave off. I'm usually near an outlet or something like that.
Right.
The only exception is flying. And I think, here's a hard take. I like listening to books. I like looking at magazines. I like doing a lot of different things. I don't have to, like, if I go fly to Japan again, I don't need a device that's going to last the whole time.
Right.
And I will have a battery pack. So let's say with the battery pack and everything else, the Legion lasts me for 3 or 4 hours. I'll be happy.
Right.
I don't need, I can do other things on that flight, including sleeping, catching up on sleep. I also have kids that, it would be nice to catch up on some of that sleep. There's a lot of different reasons why battery's not the biggest deal for me.
Right.
I can have it plugged in.
I think, and I don't know, I think for me, like, yeah, I think there just needs to be like that expectation, like no device, not even your phone, will last forever. And the more that you ask a device to do, the less your battery lasts. And so I think just having that like understanding, and I understand like people want, to take these devices wherever they go, they want to play them and stuff. But I do think like you just have to have the understanding that depending on the game that you play.
Oh, that's another big one.
And a bunch of other things like,
Persona 5.
You're going to get a little bit of time with it, and then it's going to have to get plugged in again. Yeah.
Well, with Persona 5, some of these other, like Hades, I believe, some of these like not too demanding games, you can, if you set it, the FPS to 30 and the TDP and some other stuff, you could get 4 or 5 hours. Like, you'd be surprised what you can get out of it. So, yeah, you can still get good. It's just if you're trying to do AAA cutting-edge games, then you're just going to, like, people want 3-4 hours with these. It's just not quite there yet. And maybe one day we will with optimizations, with battery tech and everything. But it's not going to be, and this is why I get a little on top of like Valve, and I'm not a hardware designer. They're the ones that, but their focus is like, we need to make this battery to performance perfect. They want it to be console-like. I treat my handheld like a handheld PC. I don't need it to be perfect on the battery front.
Right.
I want it to be able to play whatever I want thrown at it. At a high enough performance that's nice. That's me. That's how I kind of treat this. So the perfect handheld, for me, weirdly enough, doesn't need to have the highest battery. I know that people are like, oh, the perfect handheld is going to be all the bells and whistles. Well, that's if we get out of, just what's possible is what you kind of have to put in there. And having something that's portable enough and massive battery is just not there yet.
No, we're probably, another decade?
Who knows?
Maybe?
Battery tech has been improving quite a bit. I don't think people realize. And with chipsets shrinking, like we can only shrink so far. We're getting pretty close to some limits, theoretical limits. Sorry, man. Your eyes bothered you last time.
I know.
My eyes are bothering me this time. But what's not bothering me is the battery size right now.
There you
I
go.
know. I keep on bringing it. I had to segue it back in. So, what would you give? I guess I'd give a battery. Like, honestly, I mean, I don't want it to be plugged in at all times, but I like the idea that I can at least get an hour out of pretty much any game I play on my Steam Deck or Ally.
Right.
Ally is a little bit of an exception there, depending on what you're playing, but what would you give up to get your dream?
To get my dream. I think I'm pretty similar. Like, I don't...
You have it plugged
battery.
in
I have it plugged in a lot. I'm not always far from an outlet if I need it.
Yeah.
And secondly, like, again, I don't need desktop mode for me personally because that's not how I treat.
I would like desktop mode more because I would like to.
Well, for you want to use it as a usable device. For me, that's not as important.
I would like to plug it into a TV and I have controllers and stuff and play some multiplayer games with you guys. Mm-hmm. Steam Deck can do that, which is nice, but it would be nice to get a little bit of a boost of performance when doing that, which is, once again, the GPU route or the Ally. Some people really, this is one thing that just bothers me. Another pet peeve. They're like, why would you have it be that high? Like, why could you turn the TDP up that high? Well, first up, I can plug it in. If I want to plug it in, give me the option to plug it in. Don't limit it because you just can't think past having 15-watt TDP, which, if you don't know what that's about, what that really is just how much power consumption the APU is consuming. There is a return, like, it's the diminishing returns. So if you're having 25, 35 TDP on your device, it's not going to be like twice as good as the Steam Deck's 15. Mm-hmm. It's diminishing. But if I have it plugged in, that doesn't matter. No, it doesn't.
Right.
That's what upsets me about people and this. Like, they really only think about battery and portability when there's other times just to let it be unlocked to, like, let me just run at higher TDPs as long as it runs fine, plugged in. Like, desktop mode's great. Like, the Switch does this, actually. The Nintendo Switch runs in a more power-consuming way when it's unplugged and undocked.
Right.
Pretty much undocked. And so, but when you dock it in, on the screen, it gets better resolution. And I believe it might be just resolution. It might even bump up a little bit of the performance, but I could be wrong about that one. Same thing could be done with Steam Deck, and that's why I mention like a portability and desktop mode is that, and even though Valve doesn't really do that yet, that is a powerful thing. If you want to be a console, consoles need to be able to be plugged into a TV, and a lot of people play their Steam Decks on the TV. Right. And it looks good. Like, Doom Eternal looks great. But you're going to have that TDP unlocked. And so, yeah, that's why I keep coming back to Ally. Ally is an amazing device.
Right.
I have been shocked how good the device is. I don't think people realize it. Sometimes people fanboy over the Steam Deck so much that they miss out on, if you really want the best performing device, the Ally is.
Right.
Comes a lot of setbacks, though, if you do that. For me, I don't know. I'm still weighing in on all this. I'd like to get the Legion Go to fully solidify, I think, my opinion on all this. I still, like, for most games, Steam Deck works great. Love the Steam Deck. Like, there's so many games that I have in my backlog that the Steam Deck's perfect for. And I like the controller a little bit more. There's other aspects of it.
Yeah.
But the Ally, the screen's better. Like, I can just see the game's better. The audio sounds better. Speakers, would you want better speakers?
Oh yeah, speakers. Yeah.
Would you want better speakers, or is the Steam Deck fine?
It's fine, but definitely when I hear you playing like on your Ally, like they're really nice. They're really clear.
They're really nice. They're massive on that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just interesting because just each company focuses on something a little different from each other.
Which
is
good.
I think that's part of what makes all of this so debatable amongst people is because each handheld offers just something a little different. Whether it's better speaker and screen performance, whether it's, just whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's, it's not necessarily that one's better or worse in a generalized overview of everything. It's just each company has chosen to focus on certain elements more than others.
Yeah, no, that's what I like. I like the competition. That's the thing that I don't like about consoles, and I haven't for a while. So I'm a PC gamer. Mm-hmm. I like consoles for exclusives. Once we get you in a little bit. Yeah. Midstream adjustments, making sure there's more Suzie. We all like more Suzie. So.
Not over here in my own little corner.
Just inching out, like, hey guys, I'm here still. If you can watch this. Yeah, we see a hand. She's the talking hand. She's the real puppet master. Yeah, oh my gosh. So,
hey guys, how's it going?
No, is that's my being puppeteered voice. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So, with the PC gaming world, we get this choice. That's what makes this so cool. With the Switch, you can be like, what would make your perfect Switch? Like, because if you only want to play Nintendo games and not go through the whole emulation side of things, which Nintendo's trying to make harder and harder,
right?
You don't get a choice. You buy the system, and that's your choice.
Right.
And for me, I don't think the Steam Deck or the Switches looked great for years. It's bothered me quite a bit, actually.
No, but we talked about that pretty extensively.
Quite a bit, actually. Yeah, it bothers me quite a bit. And I've killed this topic on this channel a lot. Or, if you're on YouTube, if you're listening to this through Spotify, then you get to learn all over again if you're new to this community, to this channel, to whatever this is. Mm-hmm. I love Nintendo games, and I love the Switch when it first came out, and it is just not held up very well over the years.
It does fine, but it's definitely not cutting edge by any standard at all.
No, and for a lot of people, that's fine. For me, this is my opinion. I like the PC world. We get to have the Ally. We get to have the Legion. Finally, these big companies are getting into the game. Right. While the Ion Neos, the AYN, or Ion, and also the One X Player, all great devices, GPD, great device makers in some form or fashion, they just don't have a complete package. They iterate too quickly,
right?
Meaning there's just too many options, and maybe for the Chinese market it's fine, and I would assume for the Chinese market it's great. For the American market, they
only have 2 billion customers.
Exactly, like their market is drastically bigger than the Americas, but that's also like, what's the spending cap in the sense of how many people could buy it?
Right.
That's also another thing that needs to be taken into play when you're thinking about this. Mm-hmm. But those devices I wouldn't really recommend people to get one unless you really wanted something specific, like the Ionio. It has very specific pieces to it, or the One X Player 2 has removable controllers, which is awesome. Those are unique pieces. The GBD WinMax 2, which is a device I used over the year, is awesome. Mm-hmm. They have very specific niche uses, which is cool.
Right.
I like that. I don't see them surviving, at least not all of them surviving over the years, because the big guys are getting in, and they have really good logistics where they can ship it to about anywhere. They have really good, because they work with box shelf or box stores, whatever. So Best Buy, stuff like that. They can grab their device off the shelf. If it doesn't work, they can return it and swap it for something else.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yep.
So,
well, also, like, the hard part with niche devices is that you're gonna have people that get really excited about those, but the demographic of people that are looking for something that's very niche, is a lot smaller than, say, the ROG Ally or a Steam Deck, which has a much broader appeal to people. Because I don't want to use the word generic, because they're not generic, but you know what I mean? They have a broader appeal to people because they're just versatile. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Versus narrowing down and having just very specific things that they're good at.
Well, and and unfortunately with the INEO and when they were on their own and before they could really establish, I mean, they established enough to where they're still around, but establish that it was a viable option. So I don't think they're going to last, but if we get like a very unique style device, there could come from that. We could get a perfect device, maybe eventually from an INEO and whatnot, where it has exactly what I laid out. The Legion Go is pretty close. We're going to see. That battery does worry me a little bit. I know it's the one that I'll give up, but like they went all out on putting everything that I'd want in there and not really adding more battery. Where the Steam Deck like it's got about the same as the Steam Deck. So I'm like, the Steam Deck on a AAA title will get like an hour and a half if we're lucky. I don't want 45 minutes.
I do wonder, like, if they're kind of planning for that one to be a little bit more like the Switch, where
there is, yeah.
You know, like, don't get me wrong. Like, yes, you play your Switch, you know, as is, but for a lot of people, like, you just dock it and use the controls.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if they're kind of going more in that line of thinking of like, hey, you're gonna play this majority of the time docked.
Yeah.
With the controllers separate, or I don't know. I'll be curious to see like what they decide.
Okay. So yeah, that's probably I have a feeling I'm fumbling around. I saw somewhere that they did have options for optimizing depending on situations, and they might even be limiting the TDP, which I hope they don't. I hope they allow that thing to go up to about whatever the fans, like the air circulation / the thermals essentially can handle. So if it can go up to 30, like hopefully it's similar to Ally, but I think it was saying something around 25 to 35 or 25 to 30, and I think the Ally can go up to 35. Depending, of course. And that might be total consumption, so I might be wrong on this. So we'll see. We'll just have to, it's going to be coming out in a couple weeks.
We'll have all the answers then.
Yeah. But perfect handheld. I really do think I have it pretty much solved for what I want. Yeah, I would love it to have it be able to play every AAA title, but I have my main PC. And so it doesn't have to. EGP. That's why I want mine to be future proof. Like the Steam Deck's so close to being future proof. Like if it had the eGPU option, I'd actually be a little less apprehensive about the performance of the Steam Deck. And I think for a lot of people and for what they're trying to do, they're going to be fine. Right. I'm just a picky user for that device, and so I'm not overly happy with certain things like performance.
Right.
And that's why I kind of go back to it sometimes. I can always find like. At the end of the day, I can always find games that will play fine on it, and the experience will work great. Like INEOs is another one. Like those old devices did not. It's just so annoying to set up and play games on it.
Right.
More like big picture mode is much better now with Steam. There's a lot of new pieces of software coming out, like the Armory, in the sense of like new in that it works really well with the handheld devices. I'm curious to see what Legion Go does. But software wise. It really sounds like you just need that suspend feature and maybe have auto optimized to, and sometimes just having it be to the lowest or near lowest setting, it just works fine, and you don't mess with it anyway sometimes. So,
I mean, to be fair, like, look, I'm a casual gamer. Like, it's not like I grab every new major title and stuff like that. So, I have simple tastes. I have simple needs. So long as it works and I can get most of the stuff that I play on it. However, I totally respect that there are people who they're playing big titles. They are doing a lot more with these devices than I ever could imagine doing.
So you don't want to play Starfield?
I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but
trying it out, but it's
that's more of a PC
on your PC kind of thing
experience in my mind. I think than on my.
It works on the Ally. It works great for the most part.
But to be fair, like
maybe it's too complex for this. I don't know for you. On the device.
Too complex for me. Wow.
For your brain can handle this complexity.
No, it's just more like
no, just for how small the screen is.
For how small the screen is, and also, I'm not the biggest fan of first-person shooters on my handheld.
True. I'm not either.
they're fine. But I've never been like the most amazing at using a controller for those types of games anyways. So doing mouse and keyboard, or at the very minimum having a larger screen when I do use a controller, is a lot nicer for me personally.
Yeah.
When it comes to first person shooters. So it's not something, like I said, it's just I appreciate those on a different experience.
Similar, with the exception of Starfield. Once you play it and you have a PC and your deck or ally, you realize, oh, I can play most of the story and stuff that I really want to enjoy. But if I want to go out and just like do some quests that aren't as big a deal, do some base building, just do some stuff that's like I can lay back
pretty
and
chill,
do that with family and all of that, and I can still focus on a movie almost. Then that's when I play Starfield. I don't play I try not to play the main story too much on the ally. I like to do that on my main PC. I like to do all the chores, because that type of game is almost a chore game.
Right.
Like other chore games are great on the deck.
Right.
And so, yeah, okay. I think honestly, your perfect handheld is almost the deck as is.
Yeah.
It's going to be great for you for a little while. I do think that having a dock mode with like controllers more easily accessible, like once you dock it, it auto connects to the controllers that are in the area, and we could play games as a family, because our oldest son would love to play certain games with us.
Oh yeah,
that would be fun, and we're getting into that more and more.
Yeah,
that's where I would say you might use desktop mode more at that point.
Potentially,
instead of dealing with a console and everything else, you're just like, hey, you know what? We're gonna play a game. Pop out your Steam Deck, put the game on, dock it in. Yeah. Here's a controller. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
That's the nice thing about the Switch, is that those controllers can, like a lot of games that are multiplayer, can be used with the two controllers that are connected to it. So
yeah. And I think you can connect up to 4, maybe even 6.
I think you can connect up to like 6 or 7. It just depends on what you're playing. It really depends on.
It depends on what you play. But I mean, I will say this for Nintendo, they've always been very. That's Nintendo. That's the way they think. That's the way the Wii was designed. It was designed for multiplayer experiences.
Yep.
And so that's carried on through the Wii U and the Switch. And so that's really nice. I totally get that some of these other devices are meant more for single player use.
Yeah.
But it would be cool to see some crossover.
Innovation in some ways.
Yeah.
I would say innovation.
Even
the the Legion Go, where it has detachable controllers, isn't really designed to do like you can't just take a controller on its own and use it as its own controller. Yeah. I don't think you can. Maybe in the future they'll add support for that. But there's some niceties to that. You don't have to, like, if you're at a hotel and you want to do TV/desktop mode, you can just take those controllers off, have it hooked up to the TV. You don't need to bring an extra controller and play it. So I don't know.
The potential's there.
The potential's there, and I do think the Steam Deck should do that at one point.
Yeah,
there's a lot of cool things. There's a lot of cool things that have there's options. So at the end of the day, if I don't want to stick with the Steam Deck in like a year, I could switch to something else, because there's options, and that's ultimately who wins. We win. Yeah. So, with so many options, I just wish Steam OS, like, that's probably another one for you, is that Steam OS is probably a requirement. And potentially, because I don't think there's any too intensive Windows games. Well, intensive in the sense of there's no Windows game specific where it requires DRM that you're limited by. It's not like you're playing Destiny on the deck. There's a lot of games that you just. Minecraft is an annoying one to get running on the deck. That's probably the only exception, is to play that with our son. Beyond that, everything else is great for you. So it's probably pretty close to being perfect device. For me, the Legion Go might be. With that being said, I mean, I think I've already mentioned everything that I need. The software is important. I think we've hammered this topic. I think we've done do justice to it. We've got this all figured out, kind of. Manufacturers, you can come to us. We can be your new designers, your new hardware designers, and tell you what to do. Bigger battery, smaller device. No, I'm just kidding. They're like, no, you can't do that. What do you guys listening? What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below if it's YouTube, if it's something else that allows comments. I think Spotify might now comment there. If not, go into our Discord, which is Games Revealed Discord. You'll find it with some links. And then also, let us know how we're doing. What other topics would you like to see us do? Members of the channel will be getting soon. We're getting to the point where we're going to start having people not tell us, but vote on topics per like one episode a month. So we'll get that out there to you guys soon. With that, anything else?
No, I think I want to see a handheld device that's a clamshell, like the old Game Boys, DSs.
You want like a flip phone.
Exactly. See, it's come back around. I know it's going to come back around for these devices, and it'll just be.
You just want dual screens. Dual screens are kind of cool with the DS, but they're kind of impractical. I know.
100%.
In my opinion, people don't like to hear that sometimes because there's some fanboys that just love it. I think they're a little impractical. I thought it was cool.
You never know. You know, someone out there will probably do it at some point.
Yeah. There's a lot of for the DS people, the 3DS people that like to emulate those. They're like perfect. That's their perfect device is having two screens. Okay, with that, let's peace out.
Peace
Guys,
out.
Check us out in the bonus level. We're going to watch a scary trailer, talk about a realistic, we're going to pair this with a nice game content topic where we've done hardware. Now let's get our feast on with the games. And it's not going to be the longest one, but if you're a member of the YouTube channel, potentially Patreon, you can go over there and watch it. So see you guys over there in the bonus level. Peace out. Later, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Congrats. Secret level unlocked. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter to curb that craving for more. If you like this episode, then make sure to leave a like, rating, follow, or whatever the platform has. Also, make sure to check out our merch at shop.gamesrevealed.com or shopundead.com. Peace.